So I'm clicking the recording on, so it will save to the cloud. And anybody that is not able to be with us can come back and check it out and hopefully learn something. So before we get going, the typical thing is that to take a look at the disclosure, the disclaimer, risk of loss. Every one of you know about it. You've been here before. It's no news. Do not trade with money you cannot afford to lose. Do not be surprised that you make improper decisions, you become excited, scared, or whatever, and you can either make money or lose money. But you don't say anything when you make it, you say a lot when you lose it. So keep it in mind. So let me just take this disclaimer slide down and let's take a look at the charts. Here's the 1 minute chart. 9 o'clock this morning, we get a quick upturn to back test, then a breakdown right after 9:30, 9:36, it breaks down, it back tests the swing arm, and it never looked back. From what, 31.16 to 3009 or 3006 low so far. The day's not over. So that is what we have in front of us. And now, as you review my chart, you're probably wondering, well, what happened to the trend lines? What happened to supports? What happened to all the bells and whistles and all the tools that I want to tell me what to do? The reality is that what it comes down to is that all the tools actually stop me from trading what I see on the swing arm. That's exactly what happens. Because instead of paying attention to the swing arm, I'm paying attention to the support, I'm paying attention to the green level, I'm paying attention to the trend line, I'm paying attention to a whole bunch of other things that are telling me don't trade, don't trade, don't trade, when the swing arm is saying sell, sell, sell. That's, in a nutshell, the reality of what we're looking at in this screen. So, you know, I posted that slide and to everybody to see, and I was just going through my thought process in my mind, and this is exactly the reality of it. The more indicators you add to it, the less you'll be able to trade it. It's that simple. We can make it complicated. We can make it busy with a ton of different things. But in reality, it comes down to whether or not you can pull the trigger to make a trading decision. And you want to pull the trigger with the tool that tells you this is the highest probability entry at this point in time. And the highest probability entry at this point in time, especially the live US trading session, is going to come from the 1 minute chart. 1 or 2 minutes, very short term. That's telling you exactly at the moment how the system is measuring the volume of buying or selling at that point in time. And when this baby breaks, 9 times out of 10, what does it do? It bounces back to back test, and the sellers show up from the zone. What happens? It goes down, back test one more, goes down, back test one more, and it continues over and over and over and over and over, and it hasn't stopped yet. The day is not over. It would not surprise me that we end up at 29.77, which is the first line of defense of the daily chart. So you're probably thinking, well, and that's what the expectations are. If that's the case, you must be a millionaire. Wouldn't that make sense? Anybody? You have a system that's able to tell you exactly where to get in, which is what really matters. From then on, you just manage the profits. So the problem is not managing losses, the problem becomes managing profits. And that's all fine and dandy as long as you're in the trade. But if you do not pull the trigger because you're looking at the wrong thing, You're still looking at the same bank account or trading account in this case. That's reality looking at you in the face. Okay, so let's go back and take a quick look at the 30-minute chart. And let's see what happened to the 30-minute chart. When did the 30-minute chart break? On Tuesday. How many days advance notice did we have that this was topping? Yesterday, even with the crazy news, it was not even able to breach zone 4 of the 30-minute chart. The day is over, 1600 hours. Let me just update that on the chart so we can see it. And what happens? They closes, it comes down, and it continues lower and lower and lower and lower. And there we are on the way to 2977. Any thoughts, comments? Anybody? Agree, disagree?
I agree, Jose. This is Jesus, and I actually I can't work with all those indicators because I can't see anything.
I did not understand.
The like what you were saying about having the other indicators in there, the lines and all of this, it's just getting a lot confusing. And I was just trading out of the 2 and the 10 minutes, and I wasn't able to take trades on any other higher time frame because of the confusion with other indicators.
Okay. Yeah, so it comes down, for example, the book map. You look at that stuff and say, well, shoot, do you go long, do you go short? What do you do? I don't know. There's a whole bunch of people waiting. What are they doing? I guess they're buyers. So are you going to buy? No, I'm not. So what's the purpose of the thing? Same thing with volume profile. There is a lot of interpretation behind it. Do you go long or do you go? Well, my bias is to potentially do this or that. Okay. And I struggle with that, like, shoot, do I put my money on the line on a bias or on a hope, or I don't know. I'm going to assume that I'm going to go long. So I struggle with that process. I'm not putting anybody's system down or indicator down. So I'm just putting myself in their position. I'm putting my money at risk. Which one do I follow? And that's how I ended up with this tool. It does not mean that it has solved all my problems. It's probably brought forward more of my problems, which are the psychological process behind it. Even though my mentor says psychology in trading is bullshit. And he could not be farther from the truth. He's completely wrong. But he's convinced that that's not the case. And it's a humongous hurdle in your ability to succeed in trading. And there are many components behind it for the reasons as to why, which I will not discuss here. But I guarantee you, every one of you have some part of that to go with you, which is the reason of your constant look for a better tool and a better tool and a better tool and a better tool. And regardless of the tool that you see, you still are looking for another one. So that's a red flag to every one of us. And it comes down to the psychology piece that's stopping you from taking the decision to buy or sell. And there are many components as to why that occurs. And I will not dare to attempt to psychoanalyze anyone. But I certainly know where I'm coming from. from my point of view. So to make a long story short, we had this week a massive opportunity in front of us, just developing in the past couple of days to several hours. And now you see a development. Now, this is just the beginning of a process. This quite likely will get to that daily, maybe zone 2, 3, or 4, and bounce back. It's possible. It's possible that it doesn't stop and it continues tomorrow and the day after, the day after, the day after. So, you know, our position here is to practically get our minds together to prepare in advance for the next opportunity, because this doesn't just drop in one instant. The market will drop over an extended period of time. I'm not saying that this is the drop. I'm saying that this certainly has the potential to become a drop. If you look at the daily chart, you'll get a sense of how much we actually went back from the low to back to the highs, and then eventually failing to give us a new high. So this could potentially develop into a fear process that Asia comes in and does the same thing, then Europe does the same thing, then US comes back on Monday again, and it gives it another push down of significance. But in the process of doing that next push down, there'll be some back testing done. And those are the points that we must be aware as to where potentially they would be, how the system will read it, and how you get into the ride to the downside. I don't know how many of you were able to trade this from the top. We got several people here that I don't know how many. We only have a few, like 22 people, but we've had in the groups all the way up to 60 people show up.
Yeah, sir, this is Nagesh.
Yes.
I think like my stop, like I took a very early profit and then like I just exited out like $100. So I didn't take the remaining stuff.
Okay. So that's what I want to get to. That's the other problem. Because we'll have people here. I know in the group there's people with pretty significant capabilities in their ability to generate the money, but also, regardless of the size of the money, your psychology still hurts you. So there are so many hurdles along the way that you must pay attention, not only from the small side, but from the medium size and the big size. Every one of them will have challenges along the way. You reach a new plateau, for example, and you are unable to overcome it and pass beyond that. So those of you that can afford it, find the proper support, assuming that you want to continue in your journey to improve and improve and improve. If you are happy where you are, fantastic. But if you think you have the ability and still have the potential to improve from where you are, do it. Do it. And if you're tired with the amount of money you have, I guarantee you can walk around the street and find a charity you can help out. So there's plenty of things to do with the extra money. If you don't want the money, there's tons of people you can help. So forget about the money part. If you have the ability to produce massive amounts of it and you don't want it, produce it massive amounts on it. There's tons of countries around the world with extreme poverty. Do some great things. It'll be life-changing. Focus on what you're good at and pass it on. It'll be super awesome. What a legacy to give back to your kids and anybody else you love. So let's go back and see. Look at this. Just back test the swing arm. What does it do? Just drop again. Another 24 points, 25 points. And this is just not going to stop until it starts to reach the daily zones. That's just the way it goes. So did anybody else trade this to the downside?
I didn't trade SPY to the downside, but I did short a couple stocks, AMD and Roku.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else on ES?
Yeah, yeah, I took it early this morning from that 1 minute at like 30:11. But I got out early because I already had a level, and I should have just trailed it. I had a level of a gap, the top of a gap of 30.78, so I got out.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I like to see, Ben, is to have a template, an order template,
Yeah.
that the stop trails zone 4 of the swing arm.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe we can get some of our top-notch brains that we have in this group and see if there's somehow a way to figure out not a regular trading stop from Thinkorswim, but it has to be driven by the zone 4. So as zone 4 continues to drop, the stop is trailing, and you can set your trade and just walk away.
Right. That's what I should have.
Yeah, if you don't walk away, you end up doing what I did.
Yeah, you micromanage it and move
There's
it.
the resist, there's the support, there is the green zone, there is this and the other, and the swing arm is recognized, is going to the level or
Yeah.
the price action,
Yep.
seeing it like this. We had a pivot point right here, okay,
Yeah.
right here, and that's all I could focus on.
Yeah, yeah,
Instead of just walking away and
Yeah.
giving it, I shorted this,
yeah,
okay, I shorted it twice.
yeah. You see where it came back into the zone again, like a little further down, the next one, not that one, the next one down, that's where I got out. I was like, I'm gonna get out. That's when I got out.
Yeah. So that's when at the end of the day, I said, to be honest with you, I'm going to be honest with you. I was disgusted by it.
Yeah,
I was truly disgusted because I know better.
yeah, right.
But also, like I said, all the other tools are telling me support, while this thing is saying sell. And I'm just focusing not on sell. I'm just focusing on support.
Right.
Okay. And look at it. Look at
Right. Exactly. And that's
Okay.
why when we were talking before, I said I have to strip everything down because it's too much. I'm gonna think too much instead of just following the swing arm. And if it goes back and busts back through the swing arm, then it does. So I just got to keep that in mind. That part.
Yeah. So what happens is this: pre-market, there's going to be, this has been coming down since. Let's see, 6:45. This was. Let me turn on the time. Sorry. Let's see. This started at 6:33 a.m. Yesterday, and then this continued and continued. It did a little bit back testing. Then at 9 o'clock, gave us again the breakdown, saying, "Hey, no, this back test didn't work. We're failing. We're continuing lower," and it just continued lower and lower and lower. So if we look at it, this same thing on a 2-minute chart, we should see a consecutive downturn of price. Oh, I got too many days in here. Okay, from 7 o'clock this morning, we had this minor hiccup in here, and then this is 2200 hours, so this is last night. Okay, let's go and then go to a 5-minute chart. And then you see it. This is the end of day yesterday, which is when this broke down. This is the 5 minutes. Of course, remember that the 30 minutes was broken down since Tuesday. Okay, so this has been happening all this time, just dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. And what are we doing? We're looking at every bells and whistle possible to tell us not to get into the trade. Any thoughts, comments, or questions?
Oh, could have still been in it.
Jose,
Anybody?
this is Ram. I'm a new member and I just started about a week ago. So I have been following you and definitely it's a great system. And the point, I mean, initially it's kind of hard to follow, but now I get it. But today actually I did ES trade, but I did in the counter trend, looking at the support and resistance. So actually I bought and sold, you know, even if you see the ranges are like 10 points, 8 points like that. So my first trade was actually based on the support, I think, of the 4 hours. And then it bounced, you know, from zone 3 of 4 hours support. Then I just bought it and then I sold it after, I think 8, 10 points or so. But I think, you know, when I look at it afterwards, right, when you're doing the trading, when you see it, you don't get it, you get lost. But at the end of the day, when you're reviewing it, it's so crystal clear. You think, you know, how I missed it, you know.
Well, the reason being is simple. It's simple because you are focused on the loss and not on the gain.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You're constantly focusing. I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose. There's the stop. There's the green. There's the support. No, I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose. I don't. So, and you completely fail to see the opportunity because the focus is on what's not to, the reason not to get in instead of the reason to get in.
Also, you know, it's kind of, you're all optimistic, so you expect that, you know, it's going to turn back and move from, you know, from the support to up. But,
well, because you're hoping that that the market does what you want it to do, so that you're right.
Yeah.
And this is what I learned from Mark Douglas, rest in peace, is that number one, you must identify your trading edge. That's it. Which one is it? No more, nothing else. Which is your trading edge? And the trading edge is the swing arm. Zone 4, 3, or 2. You're scaling to the position and you take it every time it occurs. Of course, I'm referring to critical times of the day, for example, the US session, beginning hours. Those are the most defining, more clear, momentum-driven direction trades. If you wait to do it at noon, it's going to be a horrible experience. If you wait to do it once the whole momentum has occurred, you're going to be on the wrong side of the trade just about every time. But as this process has been setting up from Tuesday to today, we have been looking at it. There is the resistance, 30 minutes. There is a support, 1 hour. We're sandwiched in between the two levels, and we were able to, I traded them in both directions.
Right.
Now, today, and I'll just have to give myself some credit. Yesterday, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I went to bed at 12 o'clock at night the following day.
Hmm.
So last night I was with GoDaddy until 11:30 at night. Then I got up at 1:30 in the morning, went back to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. So this morning I was not really up to par.
Yeah.
So I can't be too harsh on myself expecting something different when, I mean, I'm not a machine. I like to be, but I'm not. So I wasn't up to par. That's clear. Otherwise, I would have been in the trade early on and properly making decisions instead of just stumbling down the street like a drunk. Anyway, to make a long story short, the clarity of the swing arm is right in front of your eyes. Because of our doubts and insecurities and whatever else it is that holds it, you just continue to look for something else and something else and something else. And guess what? You're never going to find it.
Right.
Because every time somebody else gives you something, you still don't believe it.
Right.
And you do not want to take any action without you knowing the outcome.
Right.
And that's the problem. So you have to make the decision based on this right here.
No. See, but when you look at the 1 minute chart, right, you have 4 zones. So the difficulty is that at what zone you actually short in this case, because these zones are widely spread. You know, each one is sometimes about 10 points or so. So that's a difficulty. But first it goes. Sometimes it goes to zone 1, second, sometimes zone 2, sometimes zone 4. Right? I mean 2, 3, 4. So sometimes you miss it. I know you said, you know, you to scale in.
Correct.
That's one of the approach you proposed, that we have to scale in, you know, one contract at each of these 3 zones.
Yeah, that's the strategy, is to scale in from level to level, because it may not get all the way to it, but
Right.
at market open, it is very much into back testing levels.
Yep.
It just does it. So you must trust that and put your stops behind the high. In this case, this is just opening, you need to put your stop behind the high using the prior swing arm step. High, you know, if you put it so tight, you get stopped out. Then once you get stopped, you start doubting yourself. Oh, no, this is going to break up. And then it goes down. Oh, there it comes again. Oh, no, I'm not going to trade it because this is not going to work. Well,
Right.
then it went down. Then when it comes down here, say, okay, I'm going to short right here. Well, guess what? It went back up. I said, oh man, I was wrong. And then you continue this dance back and forth. And then by the time this starts to move, then you say, well, I'm not going to chase it. And then what?
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes, and you're just paralyzed watching it drop and drop and drop.
Wow.
So thousands of dollars later, you're thinking, oh, well, you should have done this, you should have done that.
I mean, that's what is happening every day. I've been watching you. You know, it looks so good that it's so, you feel that, oh, it's so easy. Why I missed all these things? But
Well, that's what happens. That's because our worst enemy is our mind. Our minds, nothing else.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what your eyes are looking at. Your mind is telling you, no, that's not true. Don't do it. Or when it tells you to do it, it's right before the bounce. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So at some point in time, you must disconnect your reasoning side and just become very mechanical.
Mechanical, yeah, that's what you should.
There is the swing arm, automatically place trades in every zone and walk away.
Yeah, place on there.
Every one of the stops needs to be behind the high. If, you know, in this case, this has been pretty much flat, so you need to look back in time to see what the high was, you know, back in time, and high behind the high, and just walk away and let the stops trail the swing arm and let it happen. If you get stopped out, that's fine. You just do it all over again. This is about a high probability trade with a high risk reward. Every time you get stopped out, it may be, for example, let's say $10, but when it succeeds, you made $200. Okay, so that's the challenge that every one of us must put in our minds, that you must do it. Otherwise, you're going to deny yourself of the success. I'm on the same boat with you.
Right.
We're not different.
So you put a trailing stop on this?
No, I don't. I don't have. I actually, if I had been on the trade, I would have been manually adjusted the trailing stop, because the system itself, the trailing stop, the way it's working, ends up many times will stop me out without the swing arm really breaking. So I want the trailing stop to be driven by the swing arm, not by the system itself.
Okay, got it.
So that's what the goal is, that our friends the programmers can figure out a way to trail the swing arm, not the current system that comes with Thinkorswim,
right?
Because it doesn't work. All right, so anybody else has a thought or comment, or we can just wrap it up?
Yeah,
Hey,
Jose,
Jose,
I have a question.
Jesus here. One last question. Can you show your indicators, your studies, to see what's active right now?
Right now, nothing. The only one thing that you see is the daily resistance and the swing arm. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. And then I have this the line for where price is. That just
Okay,
moves
great.
up and down. It moves up and down with price, so I can see price easily.
Thank you.
So there's only the daily resistance for from Ben and the swing arm. Nothing else. Nothing
So
else.
you're saying you're not going to use the other indicators that you had?
I'm going to
projection
have
pivots?
I'm going to have a clean screen because the other stuff just completely stops me from trading what I'm looking at on the screen. That's the reality of it. And I've been reluctant to believe it.
As a quick question, you've asked for some programmers to step in and see if they can possibly program a trailing stop which sits behind the zones, okay? So, for example, you were referring back to the 1 minute chart. If we were to trail that 1 minute chart all the way, we would have still been in the short position, like for instance, as of now.
Correct.
So I just want to tie up, for example, if you were actually using a 10-minute chart as your entry, and as we know, the 1 minute cycles all the time within that 10-minute time frame, how would you then how would the programmers know how to program the trailing stop? Because
so I'm referring
the trailing
to
stop would be from a 10-minute.
this. If the 1 minute is cycling, is not the type of trade I should be in it. See what happens. It all starts with your entry. Okay, so if you go to the 30-minute chart, the 30-minute chart broke down on Tuesday. That was the beginning process of this entry, not today. It was not today. This started back on Tuesday. So if we had done this properly, according to rules, even though supports were on the bottom, the topping over was the 30 minutes. That gave us a signal to short. So I traded in both directions. But yesterday, like I said, I was on the phone. In fact, I was on the phone with Ben as well for hours trying to figure out some other stuff. So I put my trading behind. I was not paying attention to it. In fact, I even shut off all the alerts. But my phone was going crazy, beeping left and right. Okay, so the system has, as it is currently available to all of you, it has everything you need to make the money on the trade you're looking at. What you don't have is the mind and the understanding. You know, some of you are brand new. But the most critical piece, you have everything else, is your mind. I don't have it either, just to be honest with you. We're all in the same boat. All in the same boat. So that's the idea. And you know, this is, I said this before, but some of you may not have been here in some of the discussions we had. I, years ago, went to this one seminar, and this one very wealthy man said, when you get to the top like I have, send the elevator down so you can bring a few people with you. I don't want to wait until I get there to bring you guys along. So I'm learning just as much as you are. I'm sharing with you my journey. I don't want to wait until I get to the top for you guys to join. So get on the bus and let's see if we can figure it out together.
Yep, thank you, sir.
All right, guys, ladies, gentlemen.
Yep.
Tomorrow's another day. Friday, the week is over.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jose.
All right, guys, take it easy.
Thank you, Jose.
Hey, Jose, don't forget to save the recording, okay?
Thank you very much. I had to be the lady. The guys did not remember. Wow. All right, thank you, thank you. Yes, I'll click. I'm glad you did because I was just about to walk away and do it all over again. So I'll go ahead and stop the recording right now, and I'll be back in the morning. And tomorrow I'll be here at 3 o'clock.
All right. See everyone tomorrow.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See you all. Bye.